hand or punch you in the throat. As a BMW fan and a Honda fan, I don't know whether I should bow down to you or this car is amazing and insulting and everything all at once. It's perfect, it's pure. The bash bar in the front is so original. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that outside of All-Star Bash. The carbon fiber trim on the two-tone is perfection. And could you pop the hood really quick, sir? This car is a BMW 2002 that's restored to, I love the suicide hood, which I don't know why they call it suicide hood, because suicide doors open backwards and the wind holds them open, so this doesn't necessarily, a regular hood is a suicide hood, but you have a very unique engine swap in this car. First of all, tell us your name, where you're from, a little bit about the car, and then tell us about this engine swap, sir.
Okay, my name is Dan, I'm from Sacramento. Doing this build, I was inspired from a friend of mine that's here today from back in high school, probably long before drifting became popular, when we was drifting one of these back then, probably 20 years ago. And since then I've been wanting to get a 2002, and I finally got my hands on one, and when I wanted to build it, I wanted to go all out. So I took all the time I needed to do it. I built a 1969 2002. It was a complete rotisserie restoration. I did probably about 90% of the work on my own, and I decided to do the S2K2 theme, which is the S2000 engine, drivetrain, and the fact that it's a 2002 and I could kind of match the two and call it a S2K2 kind of was my theme and was my part of my inspiration. So I went with that build and just kind of put this together, and I like the fact that the performance level of the S2000 drivetrain and the RPM range and the power that this has, it's just very fun to drive, and I'm not done with it. Down the road I'm going to turbo it and get double my horsepower out of it.
Yeah, I think first, I don't even know where to begin with this car. It's so amazing. I gotta ask, I haven't had a chance to look it over pretty quickly. Every time you do an S2000 swap, you have to use the cluster, correct? So did you use the cluster in the gauge cluster?
I did. I used all the wire harness, the gauge cluster, all the engine wire harness. I tried to keep everything OEM. I did have to go with the AEM standalone programmable computer. That way when I add the turbo, I can further program it and keep it in tune.
Yeah, I would think like, it's a beautiful chassis. I'm a huge fan of the 2002. It's very lightweight. The car's rewarding on its own with the factory motor. We put an S2000 motor in, and you're putting 240 horsepower into it. 219 I learned earlier tonight to the wheels. And that's not enough for you, Dan? You want to turbocharge it and get a little more?
Yeah, I do. I'll get down into like the 12s, 13s.
Wow, a 12-second 2002. I mean, and again, okay, I don't want to insult you because you're a man of, let's say, increased life experience like my own. But what you have on this car is out-of-the-box thinking. The bash bar in the front, the carbon fiber where the color change happens. Look at the leading edge of the rear fenders. There's carbon fiber trim on it. Look at the lug nuts, are the hipster vape community, full-blown, gnarly lugs caps. There's definitely a lot of contemporary touches to the car, Dan. Did your kids help you with this car, or did you come up with this on your own?
I came up with it all on my own. I wanted to completely modernize the car. And that was the big thing I had in mind, was to make it completely off the wall from what it was originally. The purists, they don't like me. Can't help it, but I wanted a one-off. I wanted my own design. I came up with the color combination, the ostrich two-tone interior, the 635 CSI back seats. The front seats are S2000. Everything just kind of pictured in my mind and then made it happen. So
yeah, I think it's amazing what you've done with it outside of the box for like the first build. Okay, the color's there, the styling is there, the engine is there, the wheels are there. What do you have in the suspension? Is it designed to corner as well as it goes?
Yeah, I added sway bars. I went with Ireland Engineering sport suspension, so I have Bilstein shocks and sport springs to drop it down. It dropped about 3 inches It's a very tall riding vehicle originally, so it's dropped, believe it or not, it doesn't look slam, but it's dropped about 3 inches. And when I turbo it at that time, I might even bag it. I want to kind of go a little bit lower, but I can't drive it much lower than this.
Yeah, it seems like one thing I noticed from 2002s, like these are only 15s, I believe, 16s? Yeah, 16s on this right now, and you got it slammed on top of the 16s, and there's still a lot of real estate on it for the hipster kids today. Like, there's still a lot of real estate underneath the side skirts, so it's hard to drop these cars down. Would you ever think about notching it or doing anything?
I'm going to try not to have to do that. I think if I bag it, I can get it down a few more inches. Probably won't be able to drive it that way, but at least I can air up, look like this, and still drive it.
It's an amazing work, Dan. As a Honda fan and a BMW fan, again, I don't know whether to salute you or punch you, but I love it. It is so cool. It is just everything that's right and wrong with this industry, and I just think I love that the purists hate you too, because I think that's so cool for you to pull into a BMW event and the purists all like thump their foreheads about it, because it's just so outside of the box, and it takes cues from every single genre, and even the name alone as S2K is just a cool S2002K. It's just S2K2. It's just such a cool name. Everything about it is perfect, and I appreciate you bringing it to AutoCon and showing it with us and bringing it up on stage today. And if anyone has any questions, please come up and ask Dan, because this car is just so out of the box right now. And please give it up for Dan, and thank you very much for bringing the car up. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Ask Dan. Somebody's got a fan already. We'll have more from AutoCon 2016 in a few moments.